Hi guys, Spartan765. Today I'm doing a video review on a gun that, a lot of you guys who follow my YouTube videos would probably think that I wouldn't really have, but it's a gun I've always wanted my entire life, and, a gun that I really enjoy shooting. Haven't shot it yet, but this is the 1873 Colt Army. What this is here is this is the first adopted cartridge revolver that wasn't a cartridge conversion like an 1851 or 1860 cartridge conversion. This has a gate. This is not, the cylinder doesn't roll open. This here fires a 45 Colt, which is a very big round. It's similar to the 44 Magnum. It has a similar knockdown power and similar ballistics to that. Like I said, I've always wanted one. I used to watch Western movies with my dad all the time when I was little. And, in the Dirty Harry movies, even though in Dirty Harry movies he has a Smith & Wesson Model 29, which is one of the guns on my list to buy. But, I've always been a big fan of Westerns and, the guns, especially from the Western, from that era, from the 1850s up to the 1880s. Now this is also called the Colt Peacemaker. Obviously the 1873 Army, the 1873 Cattleman. Overall, this is just a gun here pretty much that won the West. This gun is very accurate. This by the way, is a Uberti. Uberti makes fantastic reproductions of the gun. Like an original 1873 Colt would probably fetch about, $8,000, and I really didn't want to pay that, so I bought a Uberti Repro. Now, these are very good guns, very accurate, made, to the specifications that the real ones were. With some minor improvements to the metal. The metal quality in the Ubertis is a little bit better than the original, obviously, because it's newly manufactured. This is a 6-shot. Operates off of the standard Colt operating mechanism inside. The only difference is on this gun here, as you can see, you have your safety or your loading mode, which is right here, so the firing pin isn't out. This is one of those guns that this is not a gun that you want to give to a beginner shooter. This is a gun that you'd own if you're experienced with firearms, because you can very easily discharge this firearm if you don't know how to operate it. Accidentally discharge it. Okay, now like the Ruger Vantrigo, I can't pronounce it. I don't know. The Ruger series of this particular firearm has a modern style firing pin block, where there's not a firing pin on the hammer, there's a firing pin inside there. And that hammer, like if you set the hammer down like this, it won't go off. If you load it and then set the hammer down. On this gun here, to put it in the loading selection, which is half cock, put your 6 rounds in, close the gate, pull the hammer back, and then slowly lower the hammer. And if you release the trigger when it's right about here, it will automatically go to that safe setting right there, where the firing pin is not touching the round. Now if you load this gun and you give it to a new shooter and you tell them to decock it for safety, they're going to go like this. They're going to decock it and set the hammer right on the primer, the round that's in there. So it may not go off when they just do this, but I can guarantee you, like if they bump it like this, it'll go right off. So this is one of those guns that if you're going to shoot and own, you have to take a little bit of extra precaution with, because these are a little bit more dangerous than modern day revolvers and semi-autos are. Just like with that Davis Industries D25 Derringer I have, or the Cobra Derringers. You have to have those in a half-cock mode when you load them. If you load them, if you load these here in this mode, the firing pin's exposed. Now you close the gun and you give it to an inexperienced shooter to load, they're going to load it and it's going to get stuck in about this position here. They're going to think it's just hung up. Well, then they go and wrench on it and they end up blowing their hand off. This is a gun here that has to be in the half-cock position to fire, and make sure the firing pins are down when you close that breech. Then you pull the hammer back and you're ready to fire. This is an example of another gun similar, not really similar, but similar in the fact that you have to take an extra precaution when loading and shooting these guns to be safe. But yeah, enough about that. Back onto the review. This has got a brass trigger guard, brass handguard with wood grips, and a steel receiver, which is typical of the guns from this era. Some of them had all steel, some of them were all brass. Very few were all brass, actually. That's actually a really rare find to find one that's all brass. But yeah, I mean, to unload the gun too, put it in the half-cock position. The ejector, just rotate. Now, if you get used to it, you can do it fast enough here, and then load as quick as you can. I haven't exactly gotten it down yet to where I can do it, extremely quick. But I hope to get there. Haven't shot this guy at the range yet, but read some reviews on it, and people have been saying that it's extremely accurate, very fun to shoot, and I get a lot of enjoyment on shooting these older style handguns than I do with like Glock or something newer. Just because these kind of have a special place with me, because I grew up watching movies and I always wanted one of these guns, and I have one. So I get a little bit more enjoyment out of this than I do shooting like a Glock or a Smith & Wesson M&P or a 1911. But anyway, if you guys got any comments or questions on this gun? Oh, by the way, price-wise, to set you back about $360. But like I said, any comments, questions, feel free to send me a message, video request, disassemblies, anything like that, let me know. Spartan765 out.